Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Fright Friday right here on Night Owl Video. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. I didn't do a video last week, I just didn't feel like it. I didn't really have much to say, but I did recently pick up a Nosferatu on Blu-ray, so I'm going to be talking about that film today. So I hope you'll stick around. I'll be talking about the synopsis, the cast, production, my thoughts on the film, and so much more. So be sure to stay tuned in. If you haven't subscribed already and you like movie reviews and movie thrifting hauls, although I haven't been very successful lately, do subscribe if you feel that's something you want to do. Consider giving me the thumbs up if you like this review or this kind of content. I can't say follow me on Instagram anymore because I dropped out of the Zuckerberg freight train of death. But speaking of death, hey, we got Nosferatu. I thought this movie was coming out February the 18th on Blu-ray, and so I kept checking my Walmart, and I didn't harass the Walmart staff, but I was insistent asking how come the new movies aren't on the shelf, including Nosferatu, and they were just like, I don't know. And then I was talking to somebody at a different store, and they said, oh, it doesn't come out until like March 4th or something like that. So anyway, long story short, I finally got my mitts on it and was happy to. So let's dive right into this puppy right here. Nosferatu is a 2024 horror film directed by Robert Eggers, who you probably know from directing The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. All great movies, actually. So I was very excited going into this back in December in the movie theater. The synopsis for this film is it's a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. Ooh. This film stars Bill Skarsgård, who played the Pennywise clown in the remakes of It, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and of course, the ever-lovely Willem Dafoe, who was also in The Lighthouse and The Northman. I don't think he was in The Witch, but apparently Robert Eggers likes Willem Dafoe, and who the heck doesn't, really? I mean, he's just such a lovely man and a wonderful actor. So this, of course, is a remake of the 2022 film Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror, which, of course, is a sort of retelling of the Dracula story from 1897, written by Bram Stoker. So the story goes that, I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, but they wanted to do a film adaptation of Dracula, but they couldn't get the rights to it, I guess back then, I don't know. So they went ahead and just made up their own, which is basically like the same story, but they changed the names, they changed the name of the story, etc., etc. So it's more or less Dracula, but it's Nosferatu. Filming of this movie took place primarily in Prague between the months of February and May of 2023. The one thing I did like about this movie, and I'll get more into my thoughts on this, but unlike previous versions of the story of Nosferatu, Robert Eggers wanted the vampire to be more like a folk vampire. So it's a little more, it's less the, the Widow's Peak and the Black Cape kind of Dracula that everybody's kind of used to, which is like, it's been watered down so many times over the years that it's now just sort of like, it's like when people call tissue, they call it Kleenex. It's just like, there's this like version of Dracula that's not really that closely related to the original version. And so it's become sort of like a Halloween costume. Basically, a kid could get a Dracula Halloween costume. I don't know if that's still a thing, but when I was a kid, you sure could, dress up as a vampire. It's real scary. But yeah, so he wanted to go for more of this like real creepy, authentic folk version of the character of Dracula, or in this case, it's the character is called Orlok. He was quoted as saying, "There's never been a version of Dracula or Nosferatu dressed like a Transylvanian nobleman with authentic Hungarian attire from the 16th century," unquote. So that's kind of where he's coming from with this. So it's, again, it's a bit different. Regarding the mustache, because this was a big point of contention for a bunch of people going to see this film, that Dracula, aka, or Orlok, aka Dracula, had a mustache, a big burly mannish mustache, and apparently a lot of people thought that was goofy. But again, Eggers wanted to give the character more of this authentic, Transylvanian look, and so he said, "There's, quote, there's no way this guy can't have a mustache," unquote. In old Transylvanian styling and attire, men had mustaches. That's how it was. And so he felt like he couldn't go forward with the story without Orlok having this big burly mustache. So I didn't have a problem with it, but apparently a lot of people thought it was goofy, and probably younger people were like laughing at it and stuff like that. I don't know. I give up trying to understand people anymore, but anyway. Apparently Bill Skarsgård, for the preparing to play the role of Orlok, he lost a whole bunch of weight. So in the film, he's very gaunt and really, really distressing the way he looks. He also didn't want to like digitally change his voice, so he apparently worked with an Icelandic opera singer to change the range of his voice, or to like modify the pitch of his voice. And apparently he even incorporated Mongolian throat singing into his lines, and he spent up to 6 hours a day in that makeup and doing this voice. So I'm sure it was really draining, but totally worth it, because he totally like made this new version of Orlok way more creepy. Not to say that the 1922 Orlok wasn't creepy, because of course he was, but I don't know, it just took on this whole new kind of aesthetic with the mustache and the deep voice and the big overcoat and the hat, and just the whole vibe of him was like so well put together, and really created this character more than like. And then of course having a voice is a lot different than the 1920s Orlok, because that was a silent film. So you add in that voice and it's just like, oh my God, this is so terrifying. The film currently holds an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. The budget for this film, Nosferatu, was $50 million, and the box office was a whopping $180.2 million. And just going back to the actors, Nicholas Hoult apparently said that when there is scenes where they have like real wolves on set, and apparently poor Nicholas Hoult was terrified during the scenes where those wolves were on set. And gosh, who could blame him? I mean, wolves, eh? I wore my Danzig shirt today, and but that was totally a coincidence. My thoughts on Nosferatu, if I'm being honest, and I am, I fell asleep in the movie theater watching this movie. Maybe, as I was putting my notes together for this film, I was trying to think, okay, it was right after Christmas, and so maybe I was just really exhausted from the holidays and sitting in that warm theater with my winter coat on, and it's cold outside, and this is a very slow-paced movie. I kind of like when I went to see The Batman in 2022, I was just like 45 minutes into it, and I was lights out, baby. I was down for the count. Down for the count, get it? But yeah, I totally fell asleep. When I came out of this movie, I was like, that was the most boring movie I think I've ever seen. But sometimes, kids, it takes time to reassess films and have a second viewing. And so upon second watch of this Blu-ray about a week ago, of course, my opinions were very different, and my impression of the overall film was very different. I thought the character Orlok was very creepy, And I found myself really studying him during this second watch. And that's again where I was like really studying the emaciated face and the big bushy mustache and the hat and the big overcoat and the deep disturbing voice where sometimes you couldn't even really tell what he was saying. It was just really, really scary. And especially in the scenes in the castle, like near the beginning when Nicholas Hoult arrives at the castle, those scenes, like, honest to God, I was sitting here in my little apartment with the lights off and the headphones on and just walking into that castle. The big, big fireplace behind them, like in this old Transylvanian castle. And I really actually did get like goosebumps watching it. I thought it was really, really spooky. So that part really, really worked for me this time around. Kind of like when I saw the original 1931 Dracula. The sets for that were, I thought, really creepy. And one of my favorite aspects of that 30s version of Dracula was those big sets, him walking down the stairs. Much like the 20s Orlok walking up the stairs, that famous scene of him walking up the stairs with his shadow. All of those things. It's the atmosphere that really counts in those tellings of those stories. And I thought, on a rewatch, wow, really did a really good job with that. I thought the scenes where Lily Rose Depp was being summoned by Orlok or like sort of possessed, I thought those were good, but like the opening sort of, she does this sort of like twitching body thing. I thought the opening one she did of that was really scary. Like I was like, oh God, what are we in for? But as it went on, I found it less creepy, and maybe just a minor nitpick. Maybe those scenes needed more like symphonic stabs or like something a bit more jolting. Not to say like a jump scare, but something more to add to those scenes. Like I just didn't find it really, really scared me. I thought they were good, but not really scary the way I think Robert Eggers intended them to come off as. I think maybe it was a little overlong too. I know Robert Eggers movies you're in for, I think maybe most of them are 2 hours plus, but I thought this one was a little overlong. Maybe it could have been shaved off a little bit. There was a lot of back and forths, of course, between, the castle and the main characters, which were they in England? I don't know. And then like different parts of the movie, the crypt and all that. There was a lot of jumping back and forth, which I think maybe was unnecessary. They could have shaved some of those scenes out. It was unlike Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula in that they were doing that scene to scene, but it wasn't quite so often. It was a little bit more like even paced. And maybe that was a downfall for me for this movie, but a minor nitpick, really, a minor nitpick. But it's a slow burn, like I said. If the acting is decent, the atmosphere, this movie is all about atmosphere, the sets, the costumes, all of it's on par with Robert Eggers' films, where he spends a lot of time researching with these period pieces. He researches the costumes, the language, the setting, the architecture. Everything is very, very meticulously planned out, and it's definitely here in this. From what I know about Transylvanian culture, but it's well done. It's exquisitely detailed. The horror in this film is actually really terrifying, and I was watching Red Letter Media's review of this film before I did my review, just to kind of recap or sort of re-remember what they had said about it. And yeah, they totally nailed it with talking about the vampire, the Orlok character. The blood sucking isn't this romantic, like, I want to suck your blood, I want to bite your neck. It was like, I'm disgusting, okay? I'm a half skeleton, half wheezing, rotting corpse of a man, and I'm going to latch onto you in the most awkward way and heave and make these slurping sounds as I drain your body of blood. And those scenes are really, really disgusting. Again, watching it a second time, I was really like honed in on this, and yeah, I was like, this is disgusting. So this is not Twilight, kids. This is like a disgusting creature that is sucking the life force out of you in a very slurpy, realistic way, and it is nasty. Um, there's a part where he's on top of, I'm trying to remember if it was Nicholas Hoult or Lily Rose Depp, but he was on top of this character and biting into their chest, and Orlok's whole back was just heaving. It was so gross, but so good, like so effective. I thought that part was really grisly and really excellent. If you're into that kind of stuff, this was very good. Probably my favorite part of the movie. The makeup and costuming on Orlok, like I said, was immaculate, and that really added to the overall character of this thing. I wouldn't say this was my top movie of 2024. I would say The Substance probably knocked, I know some of you are going to say surprisingly, knocked Joker Folie à Deux out of my number one spot, but I would say Substance, Nosferatu, Joker was kind of my top three, I think, for last year, but definitely it's definitely high up there. Who knows? Maybe on another rewatch, I'll be like, no, maybe this is my number one. But right now, after watching The Substance, that's my number one movie of 2024. If I rework my top, 9 that I did? And that's also, it would be remiss to not mention the soundtrack to this film. I did not write down the name of the composer. I don't know if it's on the back of this box, but see if I can find it really quick. Robin Corlan. If you have Spotify, go on there. Check it out. I was going to have my little skull in there. The soundtrack's really, really good. It's really, really atmospheric, as you can imagine. I think there was a 2 CD and a 2 vinyl set released. I forget what the record label was, but the label that puts out like the creepy horror soundtracks. But yeah, the music's really good. Upon further reading, like that was a big part of the movie for Robert Eggers, was to have the music just right. So after reading that, making my notes for this review, I went and listened to the soundtrack on Spotify, and yeah, it is really creepy. Really, really good. Atmospheric, drony, slow. It's beautiful. So if you like that or you want to check it out, go do so, because it's highly recommended from me. So yeah, that's my review of Nosferatu. What did you think of this film? Did you like it? This is the Blu-ray edition, which I picked up a couple weeks ago, like I said. The bonus features are deleted scenes, Nosferatu, a modern masterpiece, and feature commentary with Robert Eggers. I think I started to watch the modern masterpiece thing, but I didn't finish watching it. But this is what it looks. Pretty bland packaging. I decided not to go for the 4K because I'm just realizing that I really can't tell the difference with my eyesight. I'm like that guy in Employee of the Month. He thinks he can see things, but Andy Dick, he's like right on top. I'm like that with DVDs and Blu-rays now. I really can't tell a great difference with a lot of these films, so I settled for the Blu-ray. This is the extended cut, which this includes the 2 versions of the film, the theatrical and the extended. I don't know if I could really tell what the extended parts were. You can leave it in the comments what they were. Again, I did fall asleep in the theater, so it's hard for me to remember. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Nosferatu. Let me know what you thought about this film in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? There's also, of course, I did not mention also the 70s Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski that is also very good. And as my friend, I think it was my friend Corey that pointed out, the opening of that movie is really scary. But yeah, this is a new version of it, so I'm curious to see what people think about this. I also was lamenting that this came out with, the new Cure album. What was it? Songs for the Lonely or whatever. I don't know what it was called. I forget now. But this and the new Cure album came out, and if you go back in time, 30, 40 years ago, I was sort of reminiscing when The Cure's Disintegration album came out, and it was like Edward Scissorhands. And so it's kind of like deja vu for me, like with this and the new Cure album, kind of going back in time, and it's like a new version of that old thing. And who knows? I don't know how long these things are going to keep going. So we have to enjoy them while they exist. So anyway, I won't ramble on too much, but I did really, really enjoy this movie on second viewing. Definitely consider it a great movie. I would say my favorite Robert Eggers movie is probably The Witch. But I also encourage you to go check out The Lighthouse, filmed in my home province of Nova Scotia, Canada. And also The Northman, which is great. So, Robert Eggers is on a roll, I don't think he's got to keep it up. It's like a Tarantino thing with Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill. This is like Eggers has now got these like 4 lined up in a row that are all just beautiful and wonderful. So I'm hoping he comes out with some more new great movies in the coming years. So anyway, that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there. The world is on fire and things are going crazy and I don't like it. But we got to stay strong and we got to move forward. So stay strong, support your family and friends, and take care of yourself as well. The spring has sprung. I just got my bike back from the repair shop with a beautiful tune-up. So I'm very, very excited to go for my first bike ride, which could be this weekend. The temperatures are going up. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you at the video store or the thrift store or just out and about somewhere. Hopefully, I will not meet up with you in a Transylvanian castle, but if I do, let's band together and fight this creature. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.